Hi guys, hi everybody. Hope you guys are all doing well. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm just sort of going through, just making sure everyone that has signed up is logged in. So the first time for me in our new studio, and it's actually it's so exciting to be in here. It's taken some like a bit of time for us to get this going and to make it work and everything, but I think we've finally got it down to the T now. If I could maybe just get just a show of hand to you guys. Um, if can you see me now? Just want to see you guys can see me. Okay, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me all right? Okay, perfect, 100%. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for your time. I think we've got a interesting sort of discussion in this webinar, and it's kind of something that's been almost sort of bubbling on the surface for me personally, and I know for a lot of the guys in the industry. I think there's been a lot of things in social media over the last couple of weeks. If you guys have been following, you would have seen there's a few photos and things that I think doesn't quite sit that well with a lot of people in the safari industry. So this is more. It's not a rant at all, and it's also definitely not a dig at anyone in particular. It's just the kind of thing that I think maybe just to sort of educate ourselves and to maybe like just like debate about these things. What is sort of accepted on safari and what is kind of sort of frowned upon, and maybe even things that have been sort of marketed as being ethical or even like amazing sometimes may not be the right thing to do. Okay, so I'd love to hear your input on this and what you guys think. But I'm going to be jumping between screens. I just want to get this sorted out, and then we're ready to go. Just give me a second, and then just let me know if you guys can see that. I think you guys can just going to give me a thumbs up if you guys can see that presentation that came up. So I need to get used to the new system again. Just give me a second. Okay, there we go. So, like I said, what not to do on safari, and before anyone sort of thinks this is a dig at anyone in particular, I'll be the first person to admit that some of these things on the safari, I promise you, I've done some of them myself. It's and I think as a guide, like you have to go through some sort of learning experiences to be able to understand what is right and what is wrong. And one sort of over time, and but here's the catch, right? So when I started my guiding, it was around about sort of 2003. I started my training in 2006, but it started sort of going to the bush regularly from like 2003 onwards. But sort of 2007, Facebook was very much still like a puppy. It was very little was sort of known about it, and for that particular reason, like the stuff that we got up to on a daily basis wasn't documented. And as guides, young guides, 19, 20-year-olds, 100%, we did push the boundaries. And I kind of feel that, as a guide, you kind of have to push those boundaries, but you have to do it by yourself, not with clients, not putting other people's lives in danger. But you kind of have to experience these kind of things for yourself to be able to understand how you're going to react once it happens with clients. And I think one of the examples that what we did is definitely like from a walking guiding experience point of view, we would often then try and get closer to the lions or to the elephants and things, so you can get a reaction out of them, so that you know how you're going to react when that happens when you have clients. Makes sense, right? So, but again, it wasn't filmed, it wasn't put on social media, it wasn't advertised as being the right thing to do. Okay, so scenes like this, it's something that you often see in the Masai Mara. You often see it in Tanzania, but just think about the things that could go wrong in this scenario. And for me, one of the things that why I sort of wanted to bring this up is a couple of weeks ago we did a first aid course at Wild Eye. You know, it's something that we have to sort of do every couple of weeks. And you know, in that doing the first aid course, we were like sort of faced with certain scenarios, and we watched certain videos, and it's actually frightening, some of the videos that's out there, and you can find it all on YouTube and all over the internet. Of, you know, guides, and a lot of these guides are experienced guys that would take these chances with these animals. And then we also, like the guy that presented it with us, wasn't shy to sort of show videos of, you know, what could happen when things go wrong. And it kind of makes your mind think a lot more of, you know, is what I'm doing really the right thing to do, and is it worth it? You know, and just in this particular scenario, you know, look at this guy over here, right? So I mean, for this cheetah, it would literally take him not even a second to jump up there and, you know, get hold of this guy over here. Then what happens? You know, is it the guide's fault? Is it this guy's fault? You know, is it this guy's fault who is just like a bystander? But more often than not, unfortunately, it'll be the animal's fault. And that's what I really have against it. Now take another scenario. If you've been in the Kenyan vehicles, you would know that there's this sort of metal rim on the edges. So say for example, this cheetah jumps up here, gets a fright, and his foot gets stuck in there, and it falls off. You know, you'll tend to break his leg, which, you know, for a cheetah in the Masai Mara or in the Serengeti, that is pretty much game over. You know, if you've got a serious injury, you can't hunt. With all of those predators that are around there, you're going to have serious difficulty in you know, in sort of surviving for the foreseeable future. Okay, so as I said, you know, cheetahs and those kind of things. And again, you know, here's another example. They don't belong on the vehicles. And, you know, look, here's an aerial that's quite sharp, right? So, and you've also got the bull bar in the front here. So imagine now that animal gets a fright, which is very possible. You know, this guy here makes the slightest bit of movement. This cheetah gets a fright. His foot goes in there, breaks his leg, and, you know, you've just killed a cheetah for 5 minutes of your sort of photographic opportunities. So is it really worth it? And like the thing that drives me insane to no end is there'll be a lot of companies out there that will promote this as being cool. That will even go as far as to say as, this is an amazing experience. This is, you know, come on safari with us and you will see this. And to a degree, I mean, I totally understand the charm of it, you know, having a wild animal come into your comfort zone. But, you know, they doing this often to get vantage points, which they don't often get in the Masai Mara or in the Serengeti. It's generally quite flat and open. So in cases where there are no termite mounds or big trees for them to climb on to use as vantage points, they would then use the vehicles. And to be honest, I've had this scenario before as well, which I'll be sharing with you guys pretty soon. But I mean, look at this. Like, I mean, that is, and if this guy is a friend of yours that you know, I'm terribly sorry for sharing this, but I hope that if he's watching the webinar, he won't do it again. Because, you know, guys, there's so much that can go wrong here so quickly. And people would often look at a cheetah and think, you know, it's not a dangerous animal. It's not considered as, you know, any of the big five, or animal that could potentially kill you, or like people will tell you there's no records of them hunting or killing humans. But the fact of the matter is, it's still a wild animal. At that distance, you cannot predict what that animal is going to do. You know, one sort of one movement you're moving too quickly, his claws are still sharp enough, trust me, that he will cause some serious damage. So for me, you know, this is a total no-go. And if you've been on safari with us in Kenya or in the Masai Mara or in the Serengeti, you would know that this is something that we highly sort of work against. It's if the situation happens. I'm going to be showing you a video from I think it was from last year in the Serengeti actually, where we had this scenario. And personally, I've never had cheetahs climb onto vehicles. I've often seen them come close to vehicles, but never sort of coming into the vehicle as such. So here's the video. Have a look. And then after this video, what I'll do is I'll come back to see if you guys have any questions, and then we'll go to the next part of it. So here's the video. Have a look. So there you can see the cheetah, and I mean it's hard to see at the back of the vehicle, right? So we could see the cheetah that was next to the car coming to have a look. Now have a look at the one at the back of the vehicle, and you can see, I mean, these guys are youngsters. They're inquisitive. It is nice to have cheetahs that close to the vehicle. I mean, it is amazing. All right. And these cubs are probably maybe like a year, about a year old. I think there were 4 of them, if I'm not mistaken. Now look at this guy. Up he goes in a matter of seconds. So I realized purely for the safety of the animals. Yeah, you get the guest got a few shots, but just slowly drive off. The animal gets off, and you just avoid that contact. Right? Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. So just by starting the vehicle, even just that initial sort of starting the vehicle, the vibrations in the vehicle, that is often enough for that animal to then sort of stop and think twice about what is done. And just by then sort of driving slowly, you will then jump off and move away. So I'll show you another. So this is now the second time. So you can see, if I show you with the pointer, you can see in the corner here, mom with the cubs, and these 2 moving towards the vehicle, and one sort of putting his claws on the spare tire. So have a look what happens now. We see these guys approaching. We know that this is their intentions to jump on the vehicle, either on the bonnet or on the back. So just avoid. You can see these guys in the front, very keen to get on the bonnet here. So just start the vehicle, slowly driving, and you don't give them the opportunity to get up there. It's for the safety of the animals. As much as they want to use vantage points and things, I would much rather not have them have a vantage point than have a cheetah have break a leg because of what I did wrong. Slowly drive away, and then we get a little bit more distance between us and the cheetah. And then from a photographic point of view, it's also quite a bit easier to then photograph. When they're all sort of around you, very close, it is quite tough to photograph. Right, I'm just going to see if there's any questions over here. Let's just have a look. Okay, let's see. Tim says, I'm not condoning this behavior, Johan, but a lot of responsibility for the interactions you have shown so far, cheetahs on the cars, is the responsibility of the driver. A lot of visitors don't know what to expect and rely on their drivers for guidance. Excuse the pun. This makes it vitally important to select guiding companies like Wildeye with a proven track record and evident responsibility. Couldn't have said it better. Could not have said that better at all. 100% correct. That's why I think I get so annoyed with a lot of the companies that are out there these days. And unfortunately, and it's difficult to sort of like generalize, but East Africa is a sort of almost like a problem child when it comes to these kind of things, and a big part of that is because of the qualifications that's needed from a guiding point of view is sort of very basic. If you compare it to Southern Africa, if you compare it to South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Zambia, where the training is a little bit more intense. So yeah, 100% do your research on it. And I've been seeing, we're drifting away from the topic a little bit now, but I've been seeing quite a bit of sort of ads going out in the last maybe a couple of, like 2 or 3 weeks of people selling safaris into the Masai Mara at very reduced rates, super, super cheap, half of what Wildlife charges for a week in the Mara. And it kind of irritated me a little bit because of the people that are doing it. It's clearly not a primary business for them, but you also, and like I mean this in the best possible way, you always get what you pay for. That's just one of those things. We had a saying, or I have a saying that mentioned last week, and I said to the guys, if you drink a $1 bottle of whiskey, you're going to wake up with a headache tomorrow morning. And safari is very, very similar. It's the safety of you going on safari, whether you're going with your family, your girlfriend, your wife, or just by yourself. Your safety is the first priority, no matter what. And that's what sort of we've been trained to do, and that comes from guiding background. That's why we do these things like with first aid courses and all of that. But your safety is the primary concern. The enjoyment and everything after that comes afterwards. But your safety is the number one concern. You cannot sort of play with that. It's you can't gamble with that. And the safety of the animals as well. That's if that's not sort of the top of your priority, then you shouldn't be guiding. Okay, I want to get let's see the next slide over here. So this comes down to self-drive safaris that you often get in like Kruger National Park and Pilanesberg and some of the national parks in South Africa. Amazing experience. More budget-orientated safaris, and very, very popular with South Africans. Obviously with a lot of the lodges and reserves in South Africa. Let's face it, it doesn't come cheap, especially for South Africans, and with the current exchange rate. So, these kind of sort of self-drive safaris are very, very popular. But I would urge you guys, nothing wrong with doing self-drive safaris, but you have to be educated. You cannot land in South Africa for the first time and then all of a sudden just jump in a vehicle and start driving and drive right up to elephants. There needs to be some sort of understanding on animal behavior. In this particular scenario, this was an elephant bull. And, a lot of the times people will tell you that an elephant bull is fine to drive right up to them, fine to approach. They don't attack. And, each animal is so different, So you gotta be able to understand that animal behavior, which is so important, That's why you pay for a professional guide who, that's his life, that's his career, to be able to interpret this sort of body language that the animals show to you. And you see it so many times in the reserves in South Africa, where we call them Fani Veldkenners. So it basically means a kind of know-it-alls in South Africa. They've been to Kruger a few times as kids, and now all of a sudden they know everything there is to know about wildlife. And they will often then find themselves in these kind of scenarios, just driving right up too close to animals. Also not really having an escape route, which is so important. You speak to any like professional guide, there's always an escape route, no matter where you sort of park with animals. In case an animal comes, you've got a way to sort of to get out. Okay, that's another scenario of something that could possibly happen. Again, quite a big bull in the Kruger. And these things, it's not something that sort of happens once every 10 years. This is kind of something that happens every year. It's, I'd love to give, the people the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes it does happen. Sometimes you just get a problematic animal, and you could maybe do everything right that you possibly can. And, you've just found the wrong animal in the wrong place. But a lot of the times it's people's own mistakes, driving right up too close to animals. And I think this is, this is where my topic comes in sort of a little bit later, is, don't, and this happens a lot in East Africa, don't force your guide to get right up close to the animal. Don't force your guide to go right next to a lion or a leopard or something. You don't need to view it sort of from 1 or 2 meters away. There's a sort of a certain charm, I feel, once when you view an animal from a little bit sort of further distance away. It makes it sort of more natural, and it also gives that animal a little bit more freedom to move through. Just going to have a look. I see there's a question here from Julia. Johan, how can you best prepare for a self-drive besides reading good information about it and joining a couple of professional safaris? Julia, that is a fantastic question. Really, really like that. And I would, I don't really know how you prepare for it. It's like a lot of this animal behavior. You can read books. I mean, there are some really good books out there. There's a guide's guide to guiding. But a lot of these sort of experiences come from, witnessing it firsthand, being in that situation. And that's where, again, as a guide, where that training comes in so valuable, you push yourself, you push the boundaries of the animal to know where is that boundary. Because if you've never pushed it, you don't know where it actually is. And you don't want to be faced in a scenario where you are with paying clients with their lives in your hands, and you don't know how you're going to react to an aggressive elephant or aggressive lion, whatever it may be. So, Julia, I would say, chat to guides. I think that book, A Guide's Guide to Guiding, is really, really good. But I don't think you really get a sense of animal behavior from reading books. A lot of it is maybe some documentaries. That's about all I can recommend. There comes a stage in guiding where book knowledge is not enough, and like your golden sort of knowledge comes from spending time out in the bush and really sort of understanding the animal's behavior. That's where I think the real gold comes in. Okay. And then this kind of scene, and it's look, there are some places where again that lends itself a little bit more to this. This is a lot of times you'll find this in East Africa, and again I think this is where where the guiding experience from our side comes in, that we will try and avoid this. Get away from these crowds. It's people where the guide will actually tell them to. The driver will tell them to get out and stand on the vehicle, and sit on the bonnet. And I mean, I've had times at a river crossing where people are out of the vehicle in the thickets close to the river, where often lions will be hiding, and people just go there, and the guide lets them sort of go and take photographs there. It's always fine and fun until someone gets hurt and someone gets killed, and then it's the animal's problem, or then people will start getting more careful. So avoid this kind of thing. Again, I'm not bad mouthing anyone, but I can promise you a lot of these sort of big trucks or the little mini buses comes at a very reduced rate, very attractive price, and yes, you still get to see the same things, the same animals, same areas, but the quality of your experience is so much less. So I'd highly recommend you. In South Africa, this is not really that much of a problem. Like I said, your guides will, again, more often than not, be a little bit more firm with you and with regards to sort of staying seated and staying within that shape of the vehicle. But yeah, just do a bit of research on sort of who you're going to go with on these particular safaris. And this is a big one for me, and where this sort of came from is in close to the Kruger National Park. Now they're actually fighting. They're planning to put up a zoo, literally like 20 minutes drive from Kruger National Park, and it's a sort of big outroar from the local communities and from the local people in South Africa, as you can imagine. And look, I understand the values that zoos bring in certain areas. From a conservation, from an educational point of view, I totally get it. But if you have a amazing game reserve or national park where you have these animals in the wild, then is there really a need to have them in captivity? From a South African point of view, I don't really feel we need to have zoos, and especially, like I said, we've got these beautiful parks around here. A lot of the time it's not for the well-being of the animals and for the education like they often try and preach it to be. So it's often to line own pockets. And, there's so many activities in South Africa or in Africa as a whole that advertise, this lion petting and lion touching and walking with lions. And, something like this, it's again, yeah, I don't know. I'd love to hear you guys' feedback on this, because as amazing as that experience is, and I totally understand the sort of attraction to it, being that close to such an amazing animal. I did it when I was 14 or 15. Excuse me. I did it at Vic Falls. And so I'm by no means saying that I'm a saint when it comes to this. I've made those mistakes. And it is, yes, first of all, a lack of education, and also the feeling of, it's so amazing to be able to touch such a wild animal. But I can tell you a lot of it, and, I might get into trouble about this, I might not. But a lot of these animals are then bred for captive hunting. That's the reality of it. In South Africa, it's been documented that a lot of these animals, they sort of breed in captivity and have, like, as a petting farm where you can touch these cubs. They are bred. There's no ways you can introduce those animals back into the wild. Okay, they don't hunt; they get fed on a daily basis. So how does that animal get reintroduced back into the wild? It doesn't. So they basically get bred to be hunted at a later stage. So can hunting, I'm not even going to go that route, but sort of lions in captivity. You don't want to go there. As cute and as amazing as it might look, you definitely don't want to have that as part of an experience. Andy is saying, I'm glad you're creating awareness about the can hunting. Thanks, Andy. Andy gave me an incredible book. I'm trying to remember what the book is called. I've still got the book. I've read it. Andy, please, if you can pop me a message just to remind me what the book is called, about the can hunting. It's an incredible book, and definitely worth getting. Let's see. A few questions that have come up here. Okay. Let me see it. So Helena said, hi, Helena. We've done a few self-drives, and at the minimum, be more cautious than you think is necessary. I think that's a good thing, and we even say to guides, and more often than not, you'll find a lot of these accidents that happen also happen to guides who've been guiding for a long time, because you get complacent, because you get relaxed. And it's something that, we as a team sort of remind each other on a daily basis, well, not a daily basis, but, before you go on a trip, just every now and then, stay sharp, safety first, and sort of go from there. So, Elena, that's a great thing. If you feel that you're in a safe distance, give yourself a little bit more distance. I think that's probably the best advice. Let's see what. The management of such protected areas. This is from Tim Allen. The management of such protected areas in East Africa need to prevent this congestion. Mara crossing, as the risks associated with visitors being out of their cars is considerable. Properly trained and qualified drivers would help a lot too. 100% nail on the head. Totally agree. I think that's what the biggest thing when it comes down to, is the training of guides. And I think it probably has become maybe a little bit too easy in the past, where, even like sort of normal taxi drivers can just jump in a vehicle. They've got a little mini bus. They can drive from Nairobi into the Masai Mara and then lead a guided experience, as it's called. Unfortunately, because it comes at such a cheap price, there'll always be a demand for it, and so we go. So it's a fight that we're fighting. It's something that we're very passionate about, and it's something that I think we're going to make a difference in the future. I totally feel that way. I think by raising more awareness of this, 100% we can make a difference. And I think slowly but surely there'll be a mind shift change. There'll be a bigger mind shift change once the accident happens, which of course we don't want to, but unfortunately, once you keep on pushing the boundary like this, it's only a matter of time. Here's the book that Andy says, Cuddle Me, Kill Me, by Richard Pierce. So that's a good book. If you guys want to sort of read up a little bit more about the sort of cane hunting thing, it is a sad situation, but a very, very, very informative. Cuddle Me, Kill Me. That's the name of the book. Just going to see there's another one here from Tim Allen. Having tame animals in captivity close to reserves gives guests the impression that certain animals are not as potentially dangerous as they may be in the wild. 100% agree. And like I said, I totally understand the need for zoos in countries and areas where you can't find these animals in the wild. I understand, the educational value that possesses. But Kruger National Park, it is so accessible for South Africans that there really is no need for a zoo to be on our doorstep. There really, really isn't. And I think from what I've seen, there's a serious sort of backlash from people, and hopefully they don't go ahead with those zoos. Okay, again, you get this kind of experience, and as incredible as it may seem, like I mentioned, it just really is not worth it. Don't fight local knowledge. Now this is quite an interesting one, because I think often the excitement and the anticipation and what's the word I'm looking for? Like the keeping your it's lost on me. Hope maybe you guys can help me out with that word. Yeah. My goodness, I had that word. I've had that word for the whole day, but your preconceived ideas almost of the safari, to just keep that in check, and you go on a safari to a place that is like maybe very well known. Let's take like the Sabi Sands, for example, right? Very well known for leopards, and you want to go out there and you want to photograph 10 different leopards on a daily basis, and your expectations, that's the word, expectations, finally got it. Your expectations sort of go so wild that you forget to soak up the entire experience. And that's where the local knowledge of guides is so important. This man over here, if I can, this guy over here, Patrick, not me, that's me there. I know nothing. But Patrick, I mean, he's been in South Luangwa for many, many, many years. And I promise you now, probably like one of the best guides I've ever been with on safari anywhere in the world. Phenomenal guy. And his local knowledge, that we would literally sit with a pride of lions in the morning, and he'll say, guys, we have to leave a little bit earlier this afternoon because these lions are going to go down to the water and they're going to be doing this and that. And truth behold, you go in the afternoon and you get there early, and those animals start moving much earlier than you would normally think that they would. And you just can't fight that local knowledge. So I'm a big believer. I mean, you also get, so many times guides that would go against the local guides, trying to, whether it's outshine them or trying to take the spotlight. These local guides, they spend day in and day out in this particular park, in this reserve. So, just take their knowledge, take it on board and trust them, because they are, if you find a good guide, they're going to make your experience. I guarantee you. And, Patrick, he's become a very good friend. And, I try every time I go to South Luangwa to have him guide us. Obviously, the man is in high demand. Almost every guest that goes into South Luangwa wants to be with Patrick. So he is in high demand, but we try whenever we possibly can to have Patrick guide us. Phenomenal guy. But that local knowledge, it's absolutely essential. Then again, this is something that I totally believe in as well. As it's not always about the images, and we spoke about this a little while ago. So now during lockdown, I actually ended up selling all of my camera equipment, all of my camera gear. Long story. And currently, as things stand now, I don't own any camera gear. But I am very happy to still go on safari with my clients and with, whether it be with a smartphone or with my little Osmo video camera, to create a little video of my guests in the field, because it's those sort of small moments. And like, I always believe that like the best moments on safari cannot be photographed. It's that sort of sitting around the fire in the evenings with the ice cold gin and tonic in your hand, or that cup of coffee first thing in the morning around the fire, or going on safari in winter, getting into bed and there's this beautiful hot water bottle in your bed that sort of warms you up. It's those kind of moments that I think we take for granted. And in a few weeks' time, I'm doing another webinar where I'm chatting about the not so obvious things on safari, and I truly believe, and I really hope it's something that people are going to be longing for and looking forward to experiencing more than the actual images themselves. Really taking in. I know I am, for a fact. I'm going to be staying up half an hour later to take in that sort of quiet time around the fire, lie on the ground, look at the stars, go in like an hour early in the morning just to have that sort of cup of coffee around the fire, really sort of mingle with the local people, really make the most of that instead of just focusing on the wildlife images. Because I really believe it's those small moments like this, sitting on the banks of the Mara River having a breakfast. Those are the moments that really sort of take your breath away. And a lot of the times, yes, we get so sort of focused on our images, and we put so much pressure on ourselves, on our because we've paid a lot of money to go on the safari. We need to go home with at least 50 good images. But what do we do with these images once we get home? We maybe post one or two on Instagram, on Facebook, and then a lot of it sort of sits on a hard drive, maybe a few canvas prints here and there if we're lucky, or if you like extremely dedicated, you'll get a photographic book done out of it. But at the end of the day, it's doesn't really matter that much. And of course, we want to take amazing photos, but it can't overshadow the entire experience. And then this is quite an important one as well: is don't interfere with nature. I think that is a vital one. As hard as it might be, sometimes if you guys, if you've been to the Masai Mara, for example, and like during the Great Migration, you'll find it is probably one of the hardest things to witness. Having these wildebeest calves, crossing the river, and they just escape a crocodile taking them down, and they get to the other side, and there's a lioness waiting. So you can't interfere with that, as difficult as it is. And I think a lot of time people see us as not caring about nature, and how can you possibly let this happen to the animal? If you interfere with one animal, where do you start drawing the line? If the lion's got to eat, if you take that away from him, the lion doesn't get food. The lion ends up dying, and everything in this whole sort of cycle has a role to play. So what's the saying we have? Take nothing but photos and leave nothing but footprints. And that's the sort of best scenario to have, or like the best mindset to have when you go on safari. I mean, again, 100%. I've heard of guides, and I've seen guides, even in South Africa, that would drive a clan of hyenas away that are approaching a leopard with her cubs. And yes, there's a good chance that these leopard cubs are going to get killed. Is it difficult to watch? Absolutely. It literally rips your heart out. But you can't get involved. You cannot favor one animal because of your emotional side of things. And that's probably, I think, one of the toughest things of the job is not getting emotionally involved. Imagine having a guide, right, who's been guiding in a certain area, and he's seen a particular sort of, let's take leopard, right, because everyone loves leopard. They're these amazing creatures, right, super beautiful. Let's imagine this leopard, will call her the wildlife female, for lack of a better word. She now has cubs, and you see these cubs being raised. Now you've spent almost every day for the last year with these cubs. Next minute, a new pod of lions come in, and they approach these new cubs and end up killing them. You can't get involved. You cannot get involved, as difficult as it is, and imagine how hard it is for that guy who's been spending time with them every single day. You coming in for like maybe 5, 6, maybe 10 days maximum, and you go again. Imagine how difficult it is for the guide who's spent so much time with them. So please don't put that pressure on the guide or judge him for not getting involved, because it is for the greater good. Everything in nature balances itself out, and we are emotional creatures. We tend to put a lot of emotion on things, and it's not always for the best when it comes to wildlife. So let it be. The less we get involved as humans, the better nature actually sort of takes care of itself. Let's just see. Julia's got a question here. Can you say something about guides using speakers with animal noises to get a reaction from animals? I saw a guide using it once in Kruger and made me feel very uncomfortable. The animals' lions were also not really responding to it, which might be a good thing, or they have heard this trick already too many times. Julia, yeah, great question. I haven't actually heard of guides using speakers and things. That's a bit scary. My feeling is, anything that you do, if you get a negative, or if you get a reaction out of an animal, whether it be, people would argue like the only reaction you get from an animal is negative. Once you get a reaction from an animal, you've interfered in the way that they normally behave, right? So, okay, and like without getting like totally overboard and sounding like a bunny hugger in a way, but arguably, once you park a vehicle there and an animal lifts its head up, a lion sleeping lifts its head up, you've changed what they do naturally. But there's also there's a point where tourism needs to meet conservation, and this is an ongoing debate. Where is that line? You can't say, we shouldn't have humans allowed in the bush at all, because without humans, these animals will not be able to survive. The funds that get raised by people visiting these parks help to conserve these animals. It helps with fences, helps with roads, helps with anti-poaching units, all of these things. So there needs to be a point where animals where conservation and tourism need to meet. So yeah, I mean, if a guide calling an animal, I don't think it's right at all. I think it's negatively, it's impacting the animal's behavior, and a lot of the time, I think photographers are often guilty of this, even like the slightest sound, even if you do a whistle or just to get that sort of head lifting up. Again, I'm not saying I've never done this before. I'm guilty as charged. 100% I've done that. But over time, I've sort of learned that, and I think you have to sort of have an open communication with your people. So that animal lifts its head up and you're going to get 2 shots of it. So what? It's not going to be amazing images anyway. So is it really worth doing it? And I'm a firm believer that like the images that you create plays such an emotional role on you. If you, for example, chase an animal through the bush, and even if you get amazing photos, you're probably not going to use those photos because it's not a feel good moment for you. You chase that animal out there to get a reaction. Okay. Let's see. There's quite a few questions here. So ask guests to respect and adhere to the rules and regulations. This is from Tim. Not always arranges in place to do this. Example, off-roading. Playing recorded animal sounds not permitted in most, if not all, reserves in East Africa to the best of my knowledge, and justifiably so. Yeah, 100% Tim. I think we covered that one. Lisa, hey Lisa, you just came from Kenya. I was one time with a driver who called baby lion cubs out of their den, pretending to be mama, putting them in jeopardy. I was so angry that he would risk the babies just for a photo op. Okay, yeah, so that's the thing. So this guy calls the cubs out, and you get amazing, amazing photos. What if there's a hyena close by, or even like a bird of prey? Eagle. You get a big martial eagle, 100%. He can take out a lion cub. So I think that comes with time. With time and surrounding yourself with like-minded people, and educating people that think about the consequences. And like I said, this is where the first aid course that we did a couple of weeks ago was really like a big eye opener for us, because I'll be totally honest with you guys, all of us get into that sort of space where you become a little bit complacent. You get to a stage where you do get a little bit sort of relaxed with your environment. You go to a particular reserve or a park often, and you've been walking close to lions, and every time you think it's the same old thing again. It's very, very easy to fall into that trap. And I think like the first aid course was a big eye opener for us, just to once again to hit the reset button and to understand the safety of the animals, and to us and our clients comes first. At no matter what, whether it be in enjoyment or anything, the safety always comes first. You're not going to have much enjoyment, if someone gets injured, or even something worse happens, heaven forbid. But I think over time, you start weighing things up, and sort of start thinking, is it really worth the while? Guys, that's it from my side. Let me just see if I've got. Oh, there's one more slide. Yeah, let me just get it up here. Sorry, let me just remove this here. Okay, and I think that this is also, again, something that's a very important thing for me is, do not limit your experience only to wildlife. Be open to anything and everything that comes your way. And that, for those of you guys who have met Billy at our wildlife camp, that's his shirt that he printed a little while ago. But, again, I think a safari is so much more than just the images and just the wildlife. I think it's the people, and again, those experiences that I was talking about. Those moments that it's so difficult to photograph. The sitting around the fire, having a glass of wine or amarula or a glass of water, whatever your preference is. Sit around the fire, mingle with the local people, mingle with the staff, share stories, share ideas with like-minded people. And I think that I really am hoping that it's something that once this lockdown thing lifts, that it's going to be something that people sort of look forward to most. I really hope so. That's what I'm looking forward to most. It's to really sort of, the wildlife side of it as well, but to really sort of create those special moments, special bonding with people again, and just to sort of have a bit of quiet time for ourselves, in the middle of nowhere. That's really what I'm hoping for most, once travel opens up. All right, guys, I'm open to answer some of your questions. We'll give it a few minutes. You can answer, or you can ask any questions that you might have. Happy to answer them for you. So let's have a look here. Thanks, Tim. Thanks so much for the kind words. Tim says, excellent presentation of a subject very close to my heart. Thanks, Tim. Thank you so much for the care that you take with basically your ethics out in the field. What is the best way to discourage behavior like this that you see on the rare occasions you may not be traveling with wildlife? Elena, I think it's being open with your guide. I think to say to really have that guts to stand up and say, this is not on. And it might cause a bit of sort of awkwardness between you and the guide, but I guarantee you, when you have a drink that evening or when you go to bed, you're going to feel so much better about yourself that what you did was the right thing to do. And I'd like to believe that a lot of the times the guides would also feel that way. And maybe I'm wrong, but I truly believe that, well, I'd like to believe that a lot of what the guys are doing in East Africa, like I use that as an example again, is often they know they're doing it wrong, but often people would wave a bit of money in front of them and then it will force them to do that. I really like to believe that is the case, because I cannot imagine that someone sometimes do the things that they do without knowing that they're doing the wrong thing. I can't imagine that could be true. I really couldn't. Yeah, I think that for me is the best thing, is dead straight honest. Say that you don't want to be involved in whatever's happening, and yeah, take it from there. Lisa asks, are you able to travel now from South Africa? Lisa, we are. So exciting stuff, guys. We can travel to Kenya and to Tanzania. We're actually now busy with quite a few offerings, 3 different offerings actually to Kenya, which includes, first one is 10 nights in the Masai Mara. Other one is where we combine the Mara and Amboseli. And then the third one is where we combine the Masai Mara and then Lentore in the northern part of Kenya. Actually busy working with guys also to do something new in, especially in northern Kenya, which will involve a lot of aerial photography. So we're very excited. If you've met our guys, Jimmy, Sammy, Jackson, those guys, they're going to be raring to go. I think our first group is going to be somewhere beginning November. So it's not fixed dates. So we've opened it up for, we've costed it on 1, 2, and then 3 guests. Obviously, the more guests join up, the more affordable it becomes. But yeah, we're very excited. Hopefully, I think we're hoping to hit the ground running. Like I said, I think 7th of November, the first group are going to be going. Unfortunately, we can't be staying in our own camp in the Mara. It's at this stage is not viable for us to set it up for a week or 2. But we will be using Serena and we will be using our guides. So, and then there'll be a wildlife guide traveling with you. So, one of us will be able to join. Yeah, Kenya, amazing as always. Lisa, I don't think it's a bad time going to Kenya. And actually, I mean, we've got a client in Kenya at the moment, and Shazmin, and she's been having some incredible sightings. Looks like there's a lot of wildebeest in the Mara Triangle. So, yeah, I mean, don't ever think that, sort of October, November is a bad time for the Mara. It really isn't. Tim says 100% that guests can influence the irresponsible actions of driver too in this part of the world, although through dollars, especially the driver is part-time. 100%, Tim, totally agree. I think we totally agree with that one. Also, you felt incredibly safe, Lisa. That's fantastic to you. And I think that's probably like one of the concerns, or the main concern for people is the safety. We've had a few guests gone through now, and from what I understand, everything is safe. Everything's been handled very well. You do need a COVID test, I believe now, 96 hours prior to arrival. So, yeah, I mean, I think it all just depends which airlines you fly. But send me an email and I'll be happy to put you in touch with our logistics team, with Judy, my wife, who's running with the Kenyan departures. We're definitely getting those up and running. Julia says, hoping the Dutch borders will open within the next couple of months. Thank you so much for the webinar. Julia, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really do appreciate it. Guys, that's it from my side. Once again, thank you so much for joining, for taking the time. I've really enjoyed being in the new studio. I hope you guys have enjoyed the visuals coming from here. It's very exciting for us. There's some really, really cool things coming up in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, as always, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your support. And we'll catch you guys. I'll be on in about 2 weeks' time. So till then, cheers.